Tires hissed on wet asphalt as the door snapped open, and the night swallowed the sound. Max hit gravel, and the world flashed white. Mr. Harris said, "You were always too much trouble." Pain pulsed, hot and blinding. Wind tore across the shoulder and carried the scent of rain and oil. Headlights smeared into streaks, and the car shrank into a red smear. Max tried to stand, legs shaking, breath ragged. A horn blared and vanished into the dark. Max whimpered, then steadied, fighting the quake in his chest. Mr. Harris said, "Stay down, Mutt," but the voice lived only in memory now. The rain eased to a fine mist that stitched the night together. Street lamps hummed like tired bees. Max limped along the shoulder, counting breaths and measuring pain. A truck howled past, dragging a ghost of wind. Max thought of warm hands, then pushed the memory away. Hunger nipped, but the ache in his ribs ruled first. A siren wailed and fell silent, as if embarrassed. Max said, "Keep moving," though the words were only a growl in his throat. The road curved toward a distant overpass that promised thin shelter and thinner hope. He followed the silver ribbon, because it was all that remained. A sedan slowed, hovered, and then glided away as if empathy might stain the upholstery. Max paused, nostrils flaring at the scent of fries and gasoline. A window cracked, and a camera flash popped like lightning. A voice inside laughed and vanished. Max said, "Not your show," and kept moving. The shoulder narrowed until it kissed the guardrail. Water dripped in a tick that matched his pulse. The city blinked far off, a necklace he could not wear. He tested his front paw and winced, then set it down anyway. The wind shifted and brought the promise of dry concrete. Under the overpass, the world became a hollow drum. Drops beat time on steel, and echoes folded back on themselves. Max found the collar where it had landed, leather split like a wound. He nudged it, then flinched from the smell of old fear. Mr. Harris said, "You never learned," a shadow stitched to memory. Max pressed the collar into the puddle with a paw and let it go. The river of traffic hummed above, indifferent and constant. He listened to its rhythm and matched his breath. He knew leaving it behind would not free him, but it was a start. The wind died, and the night pressed closer, less hostile, more watchful. Max curled beneath a ledge where the drip thinned to a whisper. Bone-deep tremors ebbed, leaving a tired heat. He licked the grit from his paw and tasted iron. A train moaned somewhere, turning distance into comfort. Max said, "Tomorrow," and let the word anchor him. He counted heartbeats until the ache softened. Above, tires sighed like waves rolling over a dark shore. Sleep arrived as a truce, not a gift, and he accepted it with caution. The city woke with pale light slipping across concrete, and Max followed it, ribs sharp beneath his worn coat. Hunger made his step heavy, but his eyes never dimmed. A sparrow landed, shook its feathers, and was gone. The world did not notice his scars. A boy's laugh cut through the morning hum, bright and careless. Max stopped, ears forward, body quivering. He remembered voices that once called his name, but this sound was different. Ethan clutched a ball, shoes splashing in a shallow puddle. Max whispered in his chest, "Could it be safe?" His tail twitched, betraying hope. Max closed his eyes and saw another time, another warmth. A living room's glow, carpet soft under his paws, laughter folding around him. A woman's hand brushed his fur, gentle, constant. A fire snapped in rhythm with his heartbeat. He remembered belonging, the simple weight of trust. Mr. Harris had not yet appeared, and shadows had not learned his name. Max rolled in memory until it frayed and snapped. The present rushed back, cruel and thin. He opened his eyes to find the collar gone, only dirt on his chest. He growled low. The past is gone, and moved on. The park stretched with swings creaking in wind, and Ethan's ball bounced wide, rolling toward Max's paws. The boy froze, surprise tugging at his face. Max stiffened, tail still, ears flat. A parent's voice called sharp and quick, pulling Ethan back. The ball rested against Max's paw, a fragile offering between strangers. Ethan's eyes widened, lips parting as if to speak. The parent tugged, breaking the spell, and Ethan stumbled, gaze still locked on the scarred dog. Max exhaled, low and steady, then nudged the ball back with his nose. The boy smiled faintly before vanishing behind distance. Max's hunger drove him to the dumpsters behind a diner. He sniffed through wrappers, but a faint mew stopped him cold. From a torn box, two eyes glowed, wide and trembling. Luna stepped out, paws clumsy, ribs sharp beneath tangled fur. Max lowered his head, tail low, breath steady. Luna hissed, then faltered, too weak for fear. Max nosed the box aside, finding crumbs hidden deep. He pushed them toward her, growls soft as thunder. Luna ate, eyes never leaving his. Max whispered, "Live, little one," the vow carrying weight he did not expect. They lay side by side under a rusted stairwell, breath misting in rhythm. Luna pressed against Max's chest, warmth bleeding into her tiny frame. He curled around her, sheltering with his body, ribs sharp but steady. Traffic rumbled overhead like a storm kept at bay. Max closed his eyes and let exhaustion speak. He thought of Ethan's smile, of the ball resting at his paw. He thought of the color lost in water. Hope burned small, like a coal he dared not blow away. He said in his chest, "We are two now," and let the vow hold him. The dumpsters rattled as Max nosed through scraps, ribs tight with hunger, breath fogging in the damp night. Luna pawed weakly beside him, eyes darting at every sound. A shout split the air, sharp and cruel. "Filthy mutts!" a man barked. Mr. Harris stepped from shadows, hands rough, boots scraping asphalt. Max froze, fur bristling, Luna ducking behind his paw. Harris laughed low, shaking a bottle that clinked like chains. Max growled, sound rumbling deep, eyes locked. Hunger faded, replaced by fire in his chest. The world narrowed to Harris, the man who once called him his own. Mr. Harris kicked a crate, splinters flying. "Thought you could run, did you?" he spat, stepping closer. Max lowered his stance, body between Harris and Luna. His muscles shook, not from fear but from choice. Luna hissed, trembling, but her claws dug at the ground. Harris swung the bottle, shattering it against a wall, shards scattering like sparks. Max's eyes burned. The sound echoed inside the scar he carried. He remembered nights chained, beaten for silence. Harris stepped forward, hand outstretched, cruel smile painted. Max thought, "Not again," and bared his teeth, growl sharp as broken glass. Harris's boot scraped forward and Luna bolted toward open space, but his hand shot out. She shrieked, claws catching air. Max lunged, heart pounding, jaws snapping inches from Harris' wrist. Harris cursed, stumbling back. Luna tumbled against the wall, small body shuddering. Max planted his paws, fur bristling like a storm, growl thunderous. Harris hissed, "You'll regret this," raising the jagged glass. Luna whimpered, ears pressed flat, eyes locked on Max. He met her gaze, promise unspoken, "I will not fail you." The night thickened, silence folding over their breath, then broke as Harris rushed forward. The blow fell, shards scraping Max's flank. Pain flared hot, but he pushed forward, slamming into Harris' leg. Harris stumbled, arms flailing, bottle clattering away. Max snapped at the air, sound fierce enough to rattle bone. Luna darted between Max's legs, pressed close, her tiny chest rising fast. Harris growled, "Damn beast," and swung again with bare fists. Max felt the strike crash against his shoulder, but he did not yield. His eyes burned, every nerve shouting for resistance. The alley quaked with their clash, man against dog, cruelty against loyalty, and neither yet willing to break. Exhaustion weighed on Max's limbs as Harris staggered upright, chest heaving. A bead of blood traced down Max's side, but he stood tall, unshaken. Luna pressed to him, purring faint and broken. Harris spat on the ground, glare burning. "This isn't over," he muttered, retreating into shadows. The alley breathed again, rain ticking against trash lids. Max lowered his head to Luna, licking her trembling fur. She nuzzled him, eyes closing. Pain burned, but pride rose higher. Max whispered inside himself, "We are not beaten." The city roared beyond, but in the alley, a vow had been sealed. The first fingers of dawn crawled across the rooftops, faint gold smearing through the thinning mist. The alley smelled of rust, oil, and blood, a bitter perfume that clung to Max's coat as he staggered forward. Luna pressed against his chest like a secret he could not lose. His paws dragged lines through wet grit, each step heavy, yet his head refused to bow. A soft gasp broke the silence, sharp enough to freeze him mid-step. Emily appeared, coat pulled tight, eyes catching on the scar carved above his ear. She whispered, voice cracking, "What happened to you?" Max growled low, reflexive, body shielding Luna. But Luna's fragile mew slipped out, breaking tension like glass. Emily's hand hovered, caught between fear and aching need to touch. Her scent carried soap, coffee, exhaustion, but her gaze was warm, not cruel. Max's tail twitched, torn between the weight of betrayal and the thin light of something he had not dared in years, trust. Emily's gaze fell on the ragged strip of leather, still hanging from Max's side. She crouched closer, brushing dirt away with trembling fingers, and froze when she uncovered the faint outline of a stitched tag. The letters were faded, but enough remained to strike memory. "You're not just a stray," she whispered, breath catching. "You were trained." The words broke the air like thunder, pulling Max back into fragments of drills and commands. His ears flicked, tail half raised, suspicion crackling in his muscles. Luna blinked from behind his paw, her frail face softening at the calm in Emily's tone. Emily lowered her head, kneeling fully, her voice hushed yet strong. "I won't hurt you," she said, each syllable careful, as if it might snap. The promise floated fragile but rang with a truth Max could not ignore. For the first time in years, he felt seen not as broken property but as someone worth saving. Memories slammed into Max like waves he could not outrun. A bright field unfurled in his mind, grass alive with wind, flags snapping overhead, voices calling sharp commands that carried pride, not cruelty. He ran across that memory, lean muscles driving, heart swelling with belonging. A child's laughter rang out, mingling with the trainer's whistle, the sound wrapping around him like sunlight. He remembered pulling ropes, guiding small steps, his body built for service and loyalty. Then darkness split it apart, chains rattled, blows rained down, Harris' voice swallowing the warmth with venom. The memory stung like salt in a wound. Max snapped back to the present, breath ragged, growl vibrating. Emily's eyes shimmered, her voice soft but certain. "You've saved lives before," she said, grief and awe entwined. Luna pressed against Max's paw, tiny heart beating fast, grounding him. Max's gaze steadied, pain still alive but softened by the thread of truth. Emily exhaled slowly, determination flickering like flame in her chest. She shrugged off her coat and pressed it to Max's bleeding side. The fabric soaked quickly, crimson blooming, but her hands never faltered. Max tensed, growl rolling low, not in anger but in fear of touch. Emily's voice steadied. "Easy, I'm here." Her fingers moved gently, anchoring instead of hurting. Luna crept forward, paw brushing Emily's boot, as if to cast her vote. Emily glanced down, lips twitching into a faint, tired smile. "See? She trusts me." Max's body trembled, then eased just slightly, eyes slipping closed. For the first time in years, a human hand did not punish, but mended. Emily whispered, "We'll find safety," a vow soft but binding. The alley's noise fell away, leaving only the sound of his uneven breath and her steady promise. The three of them stepped out from the alley, moving into the golden morning. Max's gait was uneven, but pride carried him, Luna perched on his back like a fragile crown. Emily walked beside, steady hand hovering close, ready to catch if he faltered. The city stirred awake around them, cars humming, shopkeepers raising shutters, voices muffled with indifference. Yet no one stopped them, no one interfered, as if the bond between wounded dog, kitten, and weary woman demanded silence. Max glanced up at Emily, suspicion fading into a quiet question. She met his gaze, nodding softly. "You're safe now," she whispered, words threading into his chest like stitches holding him together. Pain still clung, but hope bled stronger, warm as sunlight on wet pavement. Together, they walked toward the street's edge where shadows ended and light waited. The scars trailed behind them, but for the first time they no longer led. The river foamed with spring rains, water thrashing against rocks in wild fury. Ethan laughed, chasing a bright red ball too close to the edge, sneakers splashing mud. Emily's voice called sharp, "Stay back!" But the wind swallowed her warning. Max stiffened, hackles rising, breath cutting short as instinct screamed. Luna mewed from Emily's arms, sensing danger before words. Ethan leaned for the ball, ground crumbling beneath his weight, and time snapped thin. Emily's heart lurched as she ran forward, fear sharpening her cry. Max's paws dug into earth, muscles coiled like wires. His body knew before thought. Mr. Harris lurked near, arms folded, watching with a smirk. "Should we've kept him chained," he muttered, cruel satisfaction bleeding from every word. His indifference wrapped around the moment like poison. Ethan's foot slipped, mud giving way, and his small cry split the air. Emily shouted, voice breaking, "Help him!" But Harris stayed rooted, eyes cold. Max snarled, fury vibrating in his chest, memory of chains igniting rage. He bolted, paws tearing earth, vision locked on Ethan's flailing arms. The world blurred, every heartbeat a drum. Max thought, not this time, not under his shadow. His body launched forward. The bank cracked, Ethan's body pitching forward, ball vanishing into the river. His scream cut through the roar of water. Emily lunged, but mud dragged her down, boots slipping. Max's leap was clean, desperate, carrying him through air with jaws parted, eyes burning. Ethan's small hand flailed as current grabbed him, spinning him toward jagged rocks. Harris's chuckle carried over the wind, low and venomous. Emily cried his name, her voice torn ragged, but Max struck water, spray exploding like shattered glass. Cold bit his skin, weight dragging him deep, but instinct burned stronger than pain. He swam. He swam? Water swallowed Max, weight dragging, current spinning. His chest burned, but he kicked harder, ears plastered, scar stinging in the chill. Ethan bobbed ahead, small arms thrashing, voice swallowed in spray. Max pushed forward, each stroke tearing against the torrent. Emily screamed from the bank, desperation clawing her throat. Harris muttered, "Let him sink," turning away as if the river's cruelty amused him. Luna's cries echoed faintly from Emily's grasp, fragile yet urgent. Max's eyes locked on Ethan's pale face, panic carving it raw. He thought, "Hold on, little one." His body surged, teeth closing on fabric. Max's teeth clamped on Ethan's hood, pulling against the river's savage grip. The boy coughed, water pouring from his lips, hands clutching at Max's neck. Max kicked, lungs blazing, dragging both through waves that sought to tear them apart. Emily's sobs cracked, her voice urging, "You can do it, Max!" Harris spat into the mud, muttering curses, powerless. The current slammed them into a rock, pain bursting along Max's ribs, but he refused to release. His muscles quivered, every ounce of strength burning, but hope anchored his body forward. The bank glimmered close, salvation a few strokes away. The current dragged with merciless strength, churning like claws that tore at fur and flesh. Max's lungs seared, each breath a war, but his grip on Ethan's hoodie never loosened. Ethan coughed, water pouring from his lips, arms clinging around Max's soaked neck. His small voice broke through the roar. "Don't let go." Emily's cries echoed from the bank, hands shaking, body leaning dangerously close. The river tried to claim them both, slamming them against hidden rocks, scraping skin raw. Max's mind screamed with pain, but his heart thundered louder. I will not surrender him to the dark. Ethan clung tighter as another surge pulled them under. The world turned black water and silence. Max's body thrashed, muscles burning, desperate for air. His chest felt like stone, but in the dark he saw Emily's eyes, Luna's fragile frame, Ethan's laughter. His paws found strength buried beneath scars, kicking hard until light shattered above. He broke the surface, dragging Ethan with him, both coughing and gasping. Emily fell to her knees on the bank, sobbing his name. Ethan's small voice rasped, "I'm here." Max's legs quivered, but he pressed on, fighting inch by inch, refusing the pull of death. Emily plunged halfway into the river, shoes sinking in mud, coat clinging heavy to her frame. "Max, bring him!" she screamed, voice hoarse with terror. Max's ears flicked, eyes locking with hers, strength renewed by the urgency in her cry. Ethan whimpered, "I can't hold on," hands slipping from Max's neck. Max shifted, pushing his body higher so Ethan's head stayed above the raging current. The current tore at them, dragging sideways toward jagged rocks, but Emily reached deeper, water lashing her waist. Her hands stretched out, trembling, hope burning through despair. Max surged forward with one last kick. Emily's hand closed around Ethan's wrist, nails digging as she pulled with every ounce left in her. Ethan cried out, body straining between her and the river's grip. Max growled through clenched jaws, pushing his chest upward, ribs screaming with effort. Together they broke the pull, dragging Ethan onto the muddy bank. Emily collapsed backward, cradling her son, sobs tearing through her chest. Ethan coughed violently, water spraying, but his small hand reached back toward Max. "Don't leave him," he whispered. Max, half submerged, pawed at the shore, muscles trembling, blood mixing with water. His eyes locked with Ethan's, promise kept. Max crawled free of the river, collapsing at Ethan's side, lungs tearing, body shaking. His coat dripped red and brown, scars deepened by new wounds. Yet his eyes glowed with fierce triumph. Ethan wrapped trembling arms around his neck, pressing face to soaked fur. "You saved me," he whispered, voice breaking. Emily stroked Max's head with trembling fingers, gratitude flooding every touch. Her tears mingled with rain, falling onto his scar like blessings. The world seemed to hush, river softening to background, storm rolling on. Max closed his eyes, tail tapping weakly, not in surrender, but in victory. The storm eased into silence, the air heavy with mud and salt. Harris stepped from the shadows, boots squelching on soaked ground, anger still etched across his face. He spat, voice sharp as broken glass. That mutt should have drowned. Emily rose, body trembling but eyes blazing with fire. Ethan clutched Max tighter, his small voice cutting through fear. "He's my hero." Max growled low, a warning that carried years of scars. Harris faltered, mask of control cracking beneath the weight of the boy's words and the dog's unwavering stance. The river whispered behind them, but here, Harris's cruelty held no power. Emily's voice trembled, but did not break. "You've done enough harm. You don't own him anymore." Her words struck like iron, steady and final. Ethan nodded, his grip unshakable, small fingers tangled in Max's wet fur. Harris sneered, muttering curses, but his shoulders sagged, rage dissolving into emptiness. Max took a single step forward, chest broad, eyes unwavering. Harris froze, the weight of past cruelty reflected in those scars. Silence fell, only the river's slow song filling the space. Emily's hand rested gently on Max's back, sealing a choice long overdue. Harris turned away, defeated by loyalty stronger than fear. They left the river behind, steps slow but unbroken. Max carried Luna on his back, her tiny body nestled between his shoulders, eyes blinking softly at the light. Ethan reached out, hand brushing Max's scar with gentle reverence. "We'll take care of you now," he whispered. Emily smiled faintly, her exhaustion softened by pride, voice quiet. "He's one of us." The three moved as one, a fragile family bound by survival and hope. The sun pushed higher, dissolving the mist, painting the street in gold. For the first time, Max's tail wagged, weak but certain, his body learning trust again. Later, under a rusted stairwell that had once been Max's shelter, the small group paused. Max curled around Luna, chest steady, while Buddy, a tiny stray pup, padded hesitantly into the circle. Ethan bent down, scooping Buddy into his arms, laughing with relief. Emily sighed, shaking her head with a tired smile. "Looks like we've got more family than we planned." Max lifted his head, eyes soft, watching the boy cradle the fragile life he once had been. The scars on his body no longer defined him. They were history, not chains. Here, surrounded by warmth, he belonged. The sun sank low, sky ablaze with fire and violet, shadows stretching long. On a ridge above the river, Max stood beside Ethan, Emily, Luna, and Buddy. The boy's hand rested on his neck, steady and sure. Emily's arm wrapped them close, her face bathed in warm light. The scars on Max's body glowed like medals, not wounds. Ethan whispered, "We made it," his words caught in the wind, but etched in the moment. Max lifted his head toward the horizon, ears pricked, tail slow and steady. The world was wide, but for the first time, he was not alone.